So, I'm gonna be completely honest with this week, a little bit rambly. Usually, when I try and do these kinds of things, I've had a little more time to think over my thoughts, and even then, they're still jumbled and mixed up, and they're not as good as when you do a script. Like the video that I did about socks and shoes. Hey, we got one watching. The video I did about that was a scripted video. I knew that I would have a lot of and forget my place. So I'm starting to do more like that, but I think about like the video on Sunday that I did about why it was hard for Jesus' disciples when he left them. That was a thing where I could have like scripted it, but I didn't really want to do that. I just wanted to do it right then and there and not spend extra time. We have Alex is here in the chat. Welcome. So this video, I'm just going to talk a little bit about retail and working customer service and kind of plans for that. And there's one important thing that I want to discuss, but we'll get to that in a moment. First of all, I just want to say one of the thoughts that I've had this morning that I've been thinking about. Dollar Tree is now hiring minors, which means they're absolutely... I worked at Dollar Tree for about 2 years. The people that I worked with were usually pretty good. I liked them. The roles that Dollar Tree had, not so much, and that can be a whole thing for another video, but they're definitely desperate because they're hiring minors. The pay isn't enough for me to go back to Dollar Tree, but here's a message that I want to give out to all of the minors who go work at Dollar Tree or any job anywhere, right? Last minute stuff come up. I mean, depending on how important it is, then you have to skip work if you can't get it covered. First, you always, every single time, call every single person that is not working that shift, and you do everything you can and get it covered. You know, maybe you offer, you always want to be open to taking one of their shifts if they need a shift covered. Do that. Or maybe you offer to pay them a little bit of money, or you can like get them a candy bar or something, all right? But you got to at least try and get your shift covered, even if you like can't offer anything else, or even if for some reason you actually are literally so busy with other super important things in life that you would not have any time to cover a shift for anybody else ever, but you need this one covered because of whatever reason, a scheduling error where you're supposed to have it off but you didn't, or something came up last minute. Even if that's the case and you're never going to be able to cover or do anything for anybody else in that regard, then still try and get it covered. And there are other ways that you can be, nice to people. Like when you're at work with them, you can help them with stuff or just be friendly. I actually can't call on Discord because I am streaming from my phone. But I would actually say, Alex, if you want, you do your own video. Channel, it's Alex Robinson, linked in the description below. So, and I'm going to try and make this somewhat quick too. But yes, Alex does have some thoughts about that. And so I actually encourage you, Alex, make one of your own videos, and if you send me the link, I'll put it down in the description below. Let everybody know about it. But that's a very important thing that a lot of people don't do. And so to finish up on those thoughts, though, what do you do if there's last minute sports or school stuff or whatever? Some of those things, especially for minors, can actually be important. And if it literally was like a last minute school meeting or something that came up, and you can't get your work covered, I can see maybe possibly skipping work for that if it's a really important school thing, affect your grades. Sure. And you should hopefully be working with good managers that understand some of that. But the other side of it too is, especially with the sports stuff, it's like, well, but they have the schedules planned out ahead of time. If you are on any kind of a sports team that is actually seriously playing and like they don't have schedules planned out ahead of time, as an Alien Expanse. Okay, that's where he's going to do his video. So, yeah. Like, they plan that stuff out ahead of time. If you're on a sports team that doesn't have schedules planned out ahead of time, that's a really bad sports team. Especially since like you have to coordinate with others when you're going to play games with them. I don't know a whole lot about the sports scene. I'm not a sports fan. But yeah, they plan it out ahead of time. You can get that stuff ahead of time. And for family things, not always are they planned out ahead of time, but a lot of times they are. So here's what the scenario that runs through my mind. Here's what you do. It's like, like you're working, let's say, tomorrow, or maybe even later today. Anytime that's really close to working, your parents come and they say, hey, there's a family thing coming up and you need to be available to go. All right, step one. You, interesting. Okay. Well, I'll let you do your own video though. I kind of want to keep this plain simple, kind of my thoughts here, and then, you can do your video, and that'll hopefully help bring some people to your channel. But so they tell you, family thing, you need to be available. So you try and you contact all the coworkers that aren't working when you're working, whatever you can, make all the offers I said. If you get anybody to cover for you, then you tell your parents, hey, I have work. I can't come to this family thing. I'm going to be at work. And like maybe they're your ride to work. Well, then you find a way to take the bus. You find a way to walk early to work. You find a way to get to work. Because showing up and actually being a good employee is better than all this last minute. And you tell your parents, look, yeah, I have work today. Maybe if you guys had told me last week, then I could have gotten it covered, or, like not even been scheduled for that. But you tell me with enough time. And so I'm not going to let it be on my head with work because you have bad scheduling. If it's something last minute really important, like I think about how my step grandfather was sick in the hospital. I tried to get it covered at Dollar Tree to go see him in Washington, and I couldn't find it. But then the managers were nice, and they said, no, you go see your grandpa. We'll figure out something. This was like last minute. So then I very quickly had like 30 minutes to grab my bags and run out the door with my parents. So we drove to Washington. That was very nice of them. If you work with good, understanding people, then things like that, and maybe you're lucky and that'll be even closer, like just running down to the local hospital to see them instead of going a few states over. Yeah. If it's something very important like that, sure, then they will be able to they'll figure something out. They'll be willing to let you do it without penalizing you too hard, punishing you too hard, But if you're regularly doing all this last minute, no, you don't. You show up for your shifts and like, hey, I told you could have told me last week, but I can't. And, maybe it's not necessarily your parents, maybe somebody else was last minute who told them, like aunts and uncles just last minute said that. Well, you tell them that too. You just tell everybody, I have work, and then you show up. I recognize you might not want to show up for work or you'd rather be with your family doing that, hanging out with your cousins, or maybe it's a party with your friends, whatever. I recognize that. But still, no, you don't. But I do recognize that. I do recognize not wanting to go into work because I'm kind of in a similar situation with a lot of things like that. But that's one that has kind of sort of bothered me about teens over the years and all this last minute stuff. And I'm willing to give you a slight break because you are still, you're still minors and you're still growing and learning and a bunch of other stuff. Yes, you are welcome to reference what I said in here and post it into your video. That is totally fine. But, so yeah, that's, but working with teens was actually, I really liked it when I go, and some of the other jobs that had teens recently, like Marco's a little bit too. It was really cool for me to see how teens acted with their job, just their mannerisms, all the things they did that I didn't really do when I was a teen because I didn't have a lot of friends, and two, I've got type 1 autism, so I just never really was, and part of me was kind of like, I wish I had some of that, I wish I did some of that, because that sounds fun, I wish I actually did normal things, and, Whew. But back to a job, though, this is the thing that's kind of tough for me, because, like, the jobs that I have had, Except for maybe the call center, I wasn't really that good of a job, but I also wasn't that good at actually like being on the phones, convincing people to take our free webinar and learn about getting free insurance leads for us, which they were actually free. You just had to sell in the insurance to the clients to make money, The other jobs that I've had, they have been pretty good. The management has been pretty good. Especially my first job, I wasn't the best employee, but it was my first job, and my autism was a lot worse back then, and a whole bunch of other things going on. And yeah, I am much better at actually, like, I was good at showing up on time and all that, but actually getting stuff done in this timely manner, and I just learned better how to do all of that stuff. But so, my jobs have been pretty good. Yeah, some people haven't been great. There's been scheduling issues. I really didn't like towards the end of Sweeto when like all my coworkers were like just leaving, and before I left and followed my manager over to Marcos, I was because the corporate was taking over. I had to like work so many extra shifts and just way more than I wanted to work or than I could really work while being still like good functioning and not so tired that I just had like towards that end, it with the way I am, when I get really, really tired, it's really hard for me to stay and focus on one thing, and I end up like random words come out, not bad words, but I'll say random things. My thought processes aren't as good, and like I don't. I was like one night. I looked up at one of the light bulbs in Sweeto, and it was one of those beautiful fancy light bulbs. If you've been to the Sweeto in Orem, it's the ones by the door. Okay? Wow, this is a beautiful light bulb. It's just so pretty and well designed, and it's been 3 minutes that I've been sitting here. I should get back to cleaning the floor, and so I did, but it was still very slow. And I'm like, I'm really tired, and I don't think I'm doing as very good of a job. I should probably just go home. Can I go home? And my coworker, he was younger than me, but he was in charge, and I didn't have a problem with that. That was fine. He did a good job of being in charge. I was like, he was like, no, it is fine. Just keep working, and so then, and we'll help you when we get done. And we were definitely getting out of there later than usual that night, I believe. But so then, towards the end, when he was finishing, I was off in the corner, and I had like fallen asleep, sitting on a chair while I was sleeping. He was like, Caleb, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm sleeping. I really didn't like that because I'm just sitting there and it's like, and I'm thinking, I can't move. I'm so tired. I'm not going very fast. I feel like I'm just being a waste of money to the company. I wish I could be faster, but I can't because I've been overworked and there's so much going on and I don't like this and it's not fun. And you just feel so helpless. And it's not quite this bad now, but I remember there were a few moments when I was young where like my parents were be trying to get my attention, and inside I'm like, I want to answer them, but I'm too tired and I can't. I physically am not awake enough to answer them. Sometimes it's like booting up a computer. Okay, it's time to be awake, it's time to answer somebody, it's time to respond. And so, you just wait slowly, and then eventually your brain and everything else is turned on enough that you can say, hey, here's the answer to that. When you're really tired. I'm a lot better at managing that now and like waking up at certain times. I mean, I don't wake up specifically at regular times in the morning. I try and my sleep schedule isn't great right now. But I mean, when I worked a job, wasn't a problem. I was able to make it work, and then I'd get into a rhythm of if I routinely worked in mornings or routinely worked at night, get into that rhythm. So I didn't really like that. But I'm not really faulting myself for a lot of stuff that towards the end of working at Sweeto, because I know for a fact that I was trying my best and I was trying to work hard and actually do everything right. And just working that much, no. Maybe a different job, I could maybe work that much. It depends. Especially when I have to run around and be doing a lot of everything else and like all the sweeping piled up. I'm like really good at working, like taking orders at places like that. So going back to one of those jobs, I would feel a little more comfortable doing that. If there was a little more of a guarantee that I could just be like on the cash register doing that. I know it's not, and if I do go back to a job, I'm prepared to every once in a while have to like go make pizzas or burritos or whatever. And every once in a while, that is kind of fun, especially making burritos. Like right now, nostalgia is in the past month or so has kind of kicked in a bit, and I'm like, if I could just go work a shift at Sweeto one more day, it wouldn't be the same as it was, and it wouldn't be the same people, so maybe I wouldn't actually want to do that. But even though my life was subjectively worse off in that time period when I was at Sweeto, I don't know, it just sounds so fun to go back and work a shift and see some of those same people. But, so the big thing with this is, it's like, I can work a job. I'm capable of that. And I'm trying to make YouTube work, whether it be people supporting me on Patreon. If you guys want to do that, I welcome that, or any other way you can think of to support me. Doesn't have to be monetary, just liking, subscribing, helping me get the watch hours so I can get to monetization. I don't know how much I'm going to make when I start out with monetization. And I'm also not looking for a lot. I live with my parents, so I don't know, 300, maybe 600 a month, somewhere in there. I could get by with that. And I'm very good at saving money for things. So yeah, I don't really need as much as other people do. And I recognize the landscape's different, and it's maybe a little bit harder because there's more people trying to do it and all this stuff. But I don't know. It's like, I don't want to go back to a job because there were a lot of things that I didn't necessarily like, and some things were stressful. I definitely don't like situations where customers are a little more annoyed or angry. I don't know. Maybe there's that. And it wasn't that way when I was at the center. Like I didn't really want to bother people on the phones, and so I didn't push the selling of a product as much. But I didn't kind of start crying if anybody said mean things to me on the phone. But there was that disconnect over the phone kind of a thing. Working at these other jobs though, maybe there's a slight fear that someone's gonna, punch me or whatever. I don't know. They're probably not. There was almost a situation where someone might have. He was a DoorDasher, and his food. This was at Sweeto. It was just me and the manager. One other person was late for work, but they were coming in. They just got there late, and his food was taking a long time to get out. And he was under the impression that, we just, whenever he, especially once he gets there, we put the food in order with everything else. And it goes, in our system, didn't have the online orders tied in with orders in the store. And so we prioritized orders in the store. And the online orders might have to wait a bit. In-store customers take priority. To me, it sounds a little weird, but then I also get that side of it. But this guy was really angry. He was waiting for 30 minutes because we had a massive surprising rush that day. The entire lobby was packed. And so eventually he comes and he's like, hey, how come they got food before me? And blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you'll have to ask the manager. I pointed to the guy in the kitchen. He's the one in charge. This guy was yelling and swearing and super angry. And my manager, at the time, he was ready to take any action if necessary to deal with this guy, have a fight with him if he had to. Trying to think about what details to, give. I think I'm safe to say, let's say he was concealed carry, and he's very good with safety on that. I won't specify who he is though, but yeah, and if he had he threatened to call the cops. He was actually going to call the cops, and he complained to DoorDash and said he was probably going to take his store off if they didn't fix anything. And I don't know if that guy's ever dashing again, but yeah, that was not crazy. I recognize the pressure that dashers have. And, a lot of times they can maybe look bad when it's the restaurant's fault. I get it, okay? So I don't want to go back to a job and, this stress, and I am subjectively way happier since I've just been staying at home, playing Minecraft, moving stuff around in my studio, and I wrote a script the other day. That was fun. So, at some point, hopefully, I'll be able to film it. I'm going to write a few other. Can't film that one now. I can at least film those. I'm subjectively happier now than I have been before. But then, and I don't want to go back to a job. It didn't seem mentally healthy for me. But the thing that causes me to pause, it's like, well, yeah, but doesn't almost everyone say that? Yeah, there are some people that absolutely love people and they love working customer service. And, I don't mind serving people in that regard. Like working Dollar Tree Sundays actually ended up being pretty nice, even though I try and not work on Sundays at a job. Like the Spanish people were just really nice and friendly, and I liked that. And what else? I just ended up liking it. But now I forgot where I was going. I did warn you guys in the beginning that this might happen. So, I could go back to a job. I just don't want to because I wouldn't be mentally healthy. But, I remember where, yeah. Some of the moments that I liked the best were like giving people coupons. Because, after a while of, working at Sweeto, I found, after asking the management a few times, I found that my judgment for when to give someone a free burrito card, because, we messed up, we're sorry, I found that my judgment on that was pretty good. And I wasn't handing them out left and right, but I didn't really have to ask, so I could just do it. And some people were like surprised. They were used to the weight that they had. Some people were just kind of surprised, and it was very nice to see me like, wow, that's cool. Thank you for this coupon. Which, by the way, I'm going to wipe that off really quickly. So I like that aspect of it, and, or just even making orders right. Seeing people be happy when they saw that I was actively working to check with all employees and make sure that things were happening. I like that. Some people didn't really notice that as much, and they were just annoyed and angry that we got their pizza wrong or whatever. Yeah, sure, I get that. But with so many people saying, I don't like this kind of a job, it's stressful. So many people saying that, why should I be able to say that? What gives this any more validity for me? There's nothing wrong with me trying to make my channel work. Nothing wrong with me just trying to stay at home and do this stuff. Some people might call it lazy, but hey, no, you call it lazy? I have worked since 2015. I have had a job, not constantly throughout every year, but like I worked at Lucy's Pizza here. That was my first job. I had a candy lemonade type stand when I was young, candy drink, and I worked at a friend's preschool when I was like 12 or so. So those were kind of my first jobs, but like my first legitimate job that I say legitimate was the year at Lucy's. Then I worked for 6 months at the call center. Next, I worked for 2 years at Dollar Tree. Then I worked at Porter's gas station in Provo with the Blimpie sub for about 6 months before they shut down. That one was annoying because they said, hey, so Speedway owns the gas pump, so they decided to not lease the convenience stores anymore, but they weren't going to take ours. And so ARS said, well, it's the only one we have left inside of Utah. Let's just close up. And they knew it for months, but then they're like, hey guys, yeah, we're a week and a half, and then we're closed, we'll find new jobs. And but so then after that, I worked at Sweeto Burrito for like 2, maybe 3 years. And then I had Marco's Pizza, which I was there for, I forget how long I was at Marco's. 4 months, maybe 6, I don't remember. And that's when I, some things were going on at work and I decided to take a little bit of a break. It's, yeah, that's what I can say about that. So I've been really enjoying this, but I'm just wondering, what gives me validity to say that it wasn't as good for my mental health and doing all these things for me working those jobs. And I could, if I had to. I've even every once in a while contemplated going to this wouldn't be enough to keep the flow of money less than some of the flow of money out. Because right now I'm just living on my car savings. I'm buying a few things for my studio, a few things that I want for myself. I still buy my food here and there. And there are some other expenses I have that, like, I'm thinking about how am I going to pay those things. And they're not like pressure, you have to do it right now or you're going to get interest fees and stuff like that. But they are things that I am thinking about. And so when I get a source of income again, I will be, going back to paying those people. But it's, so I thought about going back to Dollar Tree and saying, hey, could I get not very many hours here? I'd get more than I would want, but I've thought about that. Might not be the funnest thing ever. I mean, I know at least two of the people there. Well, I know more than two, but I know two managers there. I know the store manager, he was there when I worked there. I know another manager, they're great. So, I don't know. And also, too, if I did that, they would definitely see a lot of improvement with me and how I've grown up and how I'm a little better. But they also did see back then that I was like actually trying and working hard to do a good job. That's been pretty much my motto with like every job. So I thought about that. There's a chance that I could go back to my manager at Marcos and say, hey, I'd like to come back if you still got a position available at the other store. I just kind of don't want to. And there is one thing that I can't specifically say here, but like some of you guys know. And about the few of you that know what happened with me leaving the film community, all I can say is some of that stuff does kind of apply to regular jobs. And, and like you guys also know that's kind of why, I took a break from Marcos. For those of you that you don't know, I'm not telling, it's best to keep that quiet. Please don't tell anybody. But yeah, that does factor into it too. And so I can say if that wasn't a thing, I maybe would be more willing to go out and try and have a job with a few hours a week. Part of me kind of did like having just a little bit of that external structure in my life. But I have been really having a lot of fun lately. And so, but if that wasn't a thing, I'd probably be more likely to go out and grab a job. But I'm just kind of nervous, like what if that happens again? And then, because I don't like the emotions that it brings up. I don't like the stuff going on with that. But yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much it for my thoughts. I'm not going back to a job yet, but I will try and look for some kind of a job at some point. And even though I didn't necessarily like making lots of pizza and some of the work behind it, maybe Marcos is a pretty high on the list because my manager did say that he wants to help, and so I would just say, hey, do you still have a position available at that store? I'm having a fun time just running my YouTube channel, but it's not profitable yet, and I do need a little bit of money for that. So those are kind of my thoughts for now, and let me know down in the comments below if you can think of any reasons why, you wouldn't want to go back to work, or maybe, I don't know, some validation could be nice. Maybe you have something to say that would validate me not wanting to go back, because I really just feel like if everybody else says that, but they can work a job, then what makes me special to be able to say that? Why should I be different? Why am I not just complaining? Why am I actually feeling something? And why is it actually for my mental health versus everybody else who would just want to rather be at home playing video games and watching Netflix all day and not being necessarily productive? That's pretty much it. I can tell I'm looping on my thoughts now, but thanks so much for watching. Yeah, if you're new here, go check out the other stuff that I do. I do a bunch of Minecraft and working on some more shorts and things like that. I'm actually going to be working on some shorts related to things at work. And just like my experience with working, I want to do like some drive-through, not like YouTube shorts, but like short films and things, or skits and stuff. But yeah, leave a like, consider subscribing. I'll see you guys